Okay, welcome. This is part 3 of 3 parts of medication errors. So we've been looking at the underlying causes of medication errors, and hopefully that you have also been writing down some of the things that DSWs can do to help prevent medication errors. These are some industry initiatives that have been helping. So one thing for sure is the use of computers, and so computers in doctors' offices so that prescriptions and medication orders are printed out by the computer and not handwritten. That has reduced a lot of errors. In hospitals, there are now barcodes, and so that the bracelet that you receive in a hospital will have a barcode and that can be scanned, and that would bring up your file, including all of your information on allergies and things, and would also bring up what medications have been prescribed, and so on and so on. And so this helps in a number of incidents with medication interactions, but it also helps identify the right person, so that, and this has happened quite a bit in hospital settings where, the person in bed 2 receives the medication for the person in bed 1. So in this particular case, a nurse would come in and scan the barcode, and that ensures that we've got the right person. Another industry initiative, and this is actually the non-profit groups that have gotten together, is to try to find out more information about why medication errors are occurred. So right now we figure that there's about 3 to 6% of medication errors are reported, and so this leaves us wondering, how, of course, what are the medication errors that are not reported? And certainly that if we knew more about medication errors, that would provide a really good learning opportunity for understanding what we could do to prevent them. But there's lots of issues that discourage reporting. So a blame and shame type culture, which means like whose fault is this, and it's your fault and we're going to blame this person, and fear of legal ramifications certainly is a huge one that prevents people from admitting and reporting medication errors. So we have to kind of get by that. Financial barriers can be a big one. It just costs a lot of money to put into place systems to report errors. And also there's disagreement about whether reporting errors should be mandatory or voluntary. Certainly we seem to get more reports if it's voluntary. As soon as we make it mandatory, then suddenly people are less likely to speak up if they've had a near miss or if they've made an error. So one of the ISMP Health Canada initiatives has been the Canadian Medication Incident Reporting and Prevention System, or CMIRPS. And this is a national program. It collects and it analyzes and distributes information on medication incidents specifically. And there's a link that's in Blackboard online and to this, and whether you are a health worker and you're reporting a medication error that you have made, or that has been a near miss, or even if you are a member of the public, you can report on a medication error that may have occurred with you. And so there's a spot both for whether you're a health worker or whether you're reporting from a family or patient point of view. And you can report whether or not an actual error was made, or whether there's an unsafe workplace, or whether it was a near miss. And again, all of this information is really important. And so I really encourage people to report medication errors that they have through this. And this is non-punitive. It is confidential information. So this can't be used to, in a legal suit against you. So I really recommend that everybody uses this system if a medication error occurs. Okay, so what happens if you do make a medication error? So it is your legal and ethical responsibility to document your medication error, and that includes documenting it on the MAR sheet. So you'd have to put a C and write in the log what occurred. And you need to report any incidents that are errors involving medication. So who do you report to? You report to your supervisor. And you also, and then if there are other people that you need to report to at that point, like the physician, etc. So your number one priority is to take care of that person. So you may need to take actions. You need to watch for adverse reactions to that, making a medication error. You might need to take their vital signs. And you should call the physician immediately and follow his or her instructions. So, do they need to go to the hospital, or is it okay? Do they just, do we just monitor them, etc.? And then you need to start to document. So in their MAR, you want to write down any actions that you made. So did you take their vital signs, that you were watching for adverse reactions? And the more documentation that you make, then the safer you are from a legal perspective. And it shows that you made every effort, despite the medication error, you made every effort to make things safe and to be totally transparent. And that's your best defense. Document any individuals that were notified of the incident, so your supervisor, whether you called the physician, and so on. And then even if the error was not giving a medication, you should still document this, so it was a missed dose. And then, of course, you should report on the CMIRPS website as well. Often agencies have their own protocol, so they may have a medication error form that you need to fill out, and each agency will have their own protocol. So again, before you start administering medications, make sure you know what that agency's protocol is. So 3, inform your supervisor, and then you complete an incident report. Usually this is an example of one, and then you report at the national level, or CMIRPS. Okay, the biggest thing is to try not to make medication errors, and that's what this training is all about as a starting point. And I think one of the biggest things is knowing your drugs. So not just administering medications blindly, but having looked them up and knowing what they're given for, and double checking other people's work. Absolutely. So know your drugs, and we've been practicing with that, and we will continue to practice with that right until the end of the year. Understanding the legal aspects of medication administration, so what you can and cannot do. Understanding medication orders, pharmacology abbreviations, we're practicing with that. What we're going to be starting with next week is looking how to minimize mistakes when you're actually giving the drug. And of course, we've been practicing transferring information and transcribing medication orders. And then next week we'll look at understanding and using the safest ways to administer the drug. And the final thing is really one of the hardest steps, and that is to, if you do make a mistake, that you need to be transparent about that. You need to own up to that mistake, and then use that mistake to learn from it, and to report it so that other people can learn from it too, because chances are that you're not the only person that has made that particular mistake, and that, if a lot of people are making the same mistake, then we can all collectively learn from it and try to make a situation that's a little bit safer. All right, that's the end of part 3, and so I will see you in class next week.